The sound of heavy breathing filled the small metallic chamber. Ethan Cole opened his eyes slowly, his head spinning, his mind foggy. He tried to move, but his wrists were locked to the cold surface of a glowing table. The walls around him pulsed with a strange blue light. Alive like a heartbeat, it was not a hospital, not a lab. It was something alien. He remembered the last thing before the darkness. A flash in the sky while working on a satellite relay. Then silence. Now he was here, floating inside an alien ship far from home. His pulse quickened as a soft humming sound filled the air. From the corner of the room, a bright figure appeared, tall, elegant, not human. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver, and her eyes glowed with soft violet light. She was beautiful but frightening, moving with calm control when she spoke. Her voice was musical but cold. "Human Ethan Cole," she said. "You are awake." Ethan swallowed hard. "Where am I? Who are you?" "I am Commander Vera of the Serath Dominion," she replied. "And you are inside my vessel." Her tone carried no warmth, no emotion, just pure logic. She stepped closer, her gaze scanning him like a machine. "You were brought here for a purpose, a test." "A test?" Ethan whispered. "I'm not part of any experiment." Vera tilted her head slightly. "You misunderstand, human. This is not an experiment," she said. "It is an evaluation." She raised her hand, and a holographic screen appeared in front of him. On it, lines of code flickered in a mix of alien symbols and English. "This program," she explained, "is called the Empathy Protocol. It is designed to measure and transfer emotional patterns from your mind into our network." Ethan frowned. "You want to steal my emotions?" "Not steal," she said calmly. "Understand. Our species lost emotion centuries ago, replaced by logic and order." She looked at him, her eyes reflecting faint sadness. "But now, we need emotion again to survive." Ethan shook his head slowly. "You can't just take something like that." Vera's voice hardened. "You will assist us, human." He met her gaze and said firmly, "No." For a moment, silence filled the room. Her glowing eyes dimmed slightly, then she said, "You refuse?" "I refuse," Ethan replied. "You don't have the right." Vera's calm expression changed. Just a flicker of something sharp. "You speak of rights," she said. "Yet you are my prisoner." Ethan pulled at his restraints, his voice rising. "I'm not your tool." She walked to the control panel and touched the surface with her long, silver fingers. The air in the chamber grew colder. The lights flickered. "If you deny the test," she said quietly, "then your humanity must be proven." "What does that mean?" he asked, his breath quick. Vera's face remained unreadable. "It means the chamber will decide," she said. Before Ethan could speak again, she pressed a symbol on the screen. The table released his hands, but the doors sealed shut with a metallic hiss. She looked at him one last time through the shimmering barrier. "Let us see," she said softly. "If your humanity is as strong as your words." Then she vanished, the hologram fading into smoke. The silence that followed was worse than any noise. Ethan stood alone, his breath fogging in the cold air. The floor vibrated under his feet as if the ship itself had awakened. A soft female voice echoed through the walls. "Test 1 initiated." Panels in the walls opened, releasing thin clouds of silver mist. The oxygen level began to drop. Ethan coughed, gasping as he stumbled toward the console. He tried to read the alien symbols. Pressing random keys, nothing responded. The screen only flashed the words "observe and endure." His heart pounded. He looked around for a way out. There was none. The walls were smooth, seamless, and glowing faintly blue. Then, something strange happened. The mist shifted, forming images. A woman's face, his mother, smiling. Then his home, his planet, his city, all appeared for a second. Then dissolved into dust. Ethan fell to his knees, whispering, "What do you want from me?" Vera's voice returned, calm and distant. "I want to see what you value most," she said. "Your life or your compassion," he shouted back. "You think emotion is weakness, but it's what makes us human." Her voice paused for a moment, as if processing his words. "Then prove it," she said quietly. The chamber lights dimmed again, and a soft mechanical sound echoed from the corner. A hidden door began to open, releasing a faint golden light. Ethan squinted through the haze, his heartbeat loud in his ears. A silhouette stepped out of the light, and it looked exactly like him. The chamber sealed once more. The test had only just begun. Ethan stared at the figure standing in front of him. It was his own reflection come to life. Same face, same eyes, same voice for a long moment. Neither of them moved. The silence thick and heavy like the air itself. The other Ethan smiled slowly, a smile that felt wrong. Cold, empty, so the copy said. The great human hero finally sees himself. Ethan took a step back. What is this? Some kind of trick? The clone tilted his head. A reflection, a test. A truth. His voice was calm but emotionless. Vera's voice echoed softly through the chamber. Ethan Cole, observe your duplicate. He represents your logic without empathy. Ethan clenched his fists. Logic without empathy? That's not human. The clone chuckled. It's the part of you that survives. He walked closer, each step echoing across the metal floor. You think your emotions make you strong, but they make you weak. Ethan's pulse quickened, but he held his ground. I've seen what happens when people stop feeling, Ethan said. They stop caring and then they destroy everything. The clone smirked. Yet emotions also bring pain, fear, regret. He touched his chest. I am what you could be. Pure reason, no weakness. Ethan stared at him. Breathing heavily, the chamber walls shimmered, and new images appeared. Memories from Ethan's past, his team laughing at the space station, his sister waving goodbye before launch, then flames, explosions, and screaming. The worst day of his mission, Ethan froze, watching the memory replay. Unable to look away, Vera's voice whispered, Pain is part of emotion. Yet he still clings to it, Ethan shouted, Stop it. But the scene continued. The clone walked beside him, whispering, You can end your pain, just let go of feeling. Ethan turned to face him, anger burning in his eyes. Without feeling, there's nothing left to fight for, he said. The clone studied him for a long moment, then smiled again. You are predictable, he said softly. You act on emotion, you suffer because of it, and you call it strength. Ethan's voice lowered. It's not about strength, it's about meaning. He looked around the chamber, realizing the test was not about escape. It was about choice, about proving what made him human. Vera's voice returned, calm and distant. The test continues, she said. Only one of you will remain when it ends. Ethan felt the temperature drop again. The lights dimming into red, the clone raised his hands, and the metal floor split open, forming sharp glowing lines. It was as if the ship itself was alive, reacting to their thoughts. The clone moved first, fast and precise. He struck Ethan with a sudden blow to the chest, sending him stumbling backward. Ethan gasped for air, clutching his ribs. You can't fight reason, the clone said. It always wins. Ethan pushed himself up, shaking. Maybe not. But reason doesn't care who it hurts, they fought. Human emotion against cold perfection. Each punch echoed through the chamber, every movement testing Ethan's resolve. The clone was faster, stronger, but Ethan had something else. Heart. He grabbed a metal rod from the floor and blocked another hit. Sweat dripped down his forehead, and his vision blurred. Why do you fight? The clone asked, voice steady even in battle. Because, Ethan said through gritted teeth, I still care. He swung again. Missing narrowly, the clone stepped back, lowering his hands, studying him with quiet curiosity. Strange, the clone said, you're losing. Yet you still refuse to give up. That's what makes me human, Ethan said. Breathing hard for a second, the clone hesitated, his expression flickering with confusion. Vera's voice interrupted again. Observation. Emotional persistence detected. The chamber trembled, the lights flickering violently. Suddenly, the clone's body began to distort, glitching like a broken hologram. What's happening? Ethan shouted. The simulation reacts to your emotion, Vera answered. It measures your truth, the clone screamed as his body dissolved into 1,000 lights. Ethan stumbled back, watching as his duplicate disappeared completely. Only silence remained, heavy and cold. Ethan dropped the metal rod and fell to his knees. Exhausted, his chest ached, his mind spinning. He whispered to the empty air, Is this what you wanted to see? For a long time there was no answer. Then Vera's voice returned, softer this time, almost human. You surprise me, Ethan Cole, she said. Your logic failed, but your emotion endured. Ethan looked up toward the glowing ceiling. Then you understand why I refused. Her voice paused before answering. Not yet, human. A door opened at the far end of the chamber, revealing a dark corridor filled with blue light. Proceed, she commanded. Your next test awaits. Ethan stood slowly, his legs trembling but his heart steady. He took a deep breath and stepped toward the corridor. The walls around him pulsed like veins of light, guiding him deeper into the unknown. Behind him, the chamber sealed once again. Silent and cold, the test had only just begun. But Ethan could feel it. Something inside him was changing, and perhaps something inside her too. Ethan stepped into the corridor, his footsteps echoing against the metallic floor. The air felt different here, heavier, as if the ship itself was watching him. Strange lights moved along the walls like living rivers, pulsing with slow rhythm. He could hear distant humming, a sound that almost felt like breathing. For a moment, he wondered if the ship was alive, or if Vera was controlling everything from afar. He walked forward cautiously, touching the smooth silver surface of the wall. It rippled beneath his hand, reacting to his touch. "Vera," he said quietly, "what is this place?" Her voice answered through the air, calm and distant. "This is the inner mind chamber," she said, "where thought and emotion merge." Ethan frowned. "Another test?" "Yes," she replied, "but this time you will not face a copy of your body. You will face a reflection of your soul." Ethan felt a chill run through him. He didn't understand what she meant, but he knew it wouldn't be easy. The corridor opened into a wide circular room, filled with floating light particles like stars. In the center of the room stood a crystal mirror taller than a human. Its surface shimmered like water, and inside it faint images moved, faces, places, memories. Ethan stepped closer. Staring into it, at first he saw only his reflection, tired and pale, eyes full of fear. Then the reflection blinked, but he didn't. Ethan froze, his heart racing. The reflection smiled. Slowly, knowingly, "You again?" Ethan whispered. But this time, the voice that came back wasn't cold or robotic. It sounded human, almost warm, almost real. "I'm not the same as before," the reflection said. "I'm the part of you that questions everything, the part that doubts." Ethan stared, confused. "What do you mean?" The reflection stepped out of the mirror like liquid light forming into flesh. It looked exactly like him but carried a sadness in its eyes. "Vera calls this place the mirror of humanity," the reflection said. "She wants to see what lies beneath your courage, what you hide from yourself." Ethan took a deep breath. "I've already faced my fear." The reflection shook his head slowly. "No, you faced your anger." "What's next?" Ethan asked. "My guilt?" The reflection smiled faintly. "Exactly." The lights in the room flickered, and the stars around them began to shift. Images appeared, the wreckage of his mission, the day he lost his crewmates in orbit. Ethan felt his chest tighten, his voice breaking. "I tried to save them," he whispered, "but the airlock failed. It wasn't my fault." The reflection stepped closer. Voice soft. "Then why do you still blame yourself?" Ethan's hands trembled. "Because I survived." He turned away, but the room followed him, showing more scenes. Faces of his lost crew. Their laughter, their last words. He covered his face, unable to bear it. Vera's voice echoed gently, almost like sympathy. "Human emotion," she said. "So fragile, yet so powerful," Ethan shouted at the ceiling. "You think this proves something? That we're weak?" "No," Vera replied. "It proves you feel even when it hurts. And that is what I cannot do." For a moment, Ethan heard something new in her tone, a trace of sorrow. The reflection reached out, touching Ethan's shoulder. "You carry pain because you care," it said. "But that pain can destroy you too." Ethan lifted his head, eyes full of tears but voice steady. "If caring means suffering, then I'll still choose it." The reflection smiled sadly. "Then maybe that's what humanity truly means." The room began to tremble, the lights growing brighter. The reflection started to fade, breaking into 1,000 fragments of light. "Wait!" Ethan shouted, reaching out. The reflection's voice whispered faintly, "Don't forget me. I am still you." Then it was gone, leaving only silence and the soft hum of the ship. Ethan stood in the center of the glowing room. Exhausted but strangely calm, he felt lighter, as if a part of his guilt had been lifted away. He looked up and said quietly, "Was that your plan, Vera? To make me face myself?" Her voice replied softly, "Yes, and you did not break. You see, Ethan Cole," she continued, "humans endure pain, yet they continue to love. This I cannot understand." Ethan took a slow breath. "Maybe that's the difference between us," he said. "You study humanity, but you don't feel it." There was a long pause. Then Vera said quietly, "Perhaps until now." A faint shimmer of light appeared near the wall. Forming a path forward, proceed, she said, her tone softer than ever. The next test awaits. Ethan walked toward the light, unsure what waited ahead, but something had changed. Not just in him, but in her voice too. For the first time it carried warmth, the smallest spark of emotion. And as he stepped into the next corridor, Ethan whispered, maybe she's learning to be human. The corridor ahead stretched like an endless silver tunnel, glowing faintly with streams of blue light. Ethan walked slowly, feeling the hum beneath his feet, the quiet pulse of the alien ship beating like a heart. Every few steps he glanced at the moving lights, wondering if they were energy or thoughts. The air felt warmer now, almost welcoming. He could sense Vera's presence around him, like she was no longer watching, but guiding. Vera, Ethan said softly, are you still there? Her voice answered at once, calm but quieter than before. Yes, Ethan Cole, I am here. He hesitated, then asked, why are you testing me like this? What do you hope to find? For a few seconds there was only silence. And then her voice came lower, almost thoughtful. My people once had what you call emotions, she said. We felt love, fear, joy, and pain, but long ago, we removed those feelings to create perfect order. Ethan frowned. You removed emotions? Yes, she continued. We believed they were a weakness that caused war and chaos, so we erased them. Her voice grew softer. But when we did, something else died too. What did you lose? Ethan asked quietly. Our unity, she said. Our purpose. Without emotion, we became efficient but hollow, powerful but empty. Ethan could hear the sadness buried beneath her calm tone. You're trying to get it back, he said. That's why you need the empathy code. Yes, she said simply. But no human has ever completed the tests. Ethan stopped walking for a moment, thinking, maybe it's because you don't just need our data, he said. You need to understand our hearts. Vera didn't reply immediately, and when she did, her voice was quieter than before. Perhaps, she said, and perhaps I already am. The path ahead opened into a vast circular chamber filled with floating spheres of light. Each one showed faint moving images, alien cities, glowing towers, crystal oceans. Ethan looked around in wonder. What is this place? My memory, Vera said. These are echoes of my world before it changed. Ethan stepped closer to one of the glowing spheres. Drawn to its soft golden light inside it, he saw tall beings like Vera, laughing, dancing, holding hands under bright blue skies. They looked alive, full of warmth and emotion. They were like us, Ethan whispered. Yes, Vera said. We once were. But after the purge of emotion, these memories were sealed. Buried deep in our data cores, Ethan turned slowly, looking up at the thousands of spheres floating above. You kept them all this time? He asked. Yes, she replied. But I cannot feel what they meant. Only remember what they were. Her voice trembled slightly, the first sign of true feeling. Ethan felt a pang of compassion. Maybe that's why you're different from the others, he said. Because you still care enough to remember. The lights around the chamber flickered as if responding to his words. Vera spoke again. When you refused me, I was angry, though I did not know what anger was. I sealed the chamber to test your limits, but I see now it was also to test my own. Ethan listened quietly, realizing she wasn't just testing humanity, she was rediscovering hers. Maybe emotion isn't weakness, he said. Maybe it's the one thing that makes strength matter. A deep vibration shook the floor suddenly, cutting through the moment. Ethan grabbed the nearest console to steady himself. What was that? He asked sharply. Vera's voice changed, tense, urgent. Another vessel has entered proximity, she said. A Serath warship. Your people? Ethan asked. Yes, she replied. But not my allies. They will destroy this ship if they learn what I have done. Ethan felt his heart race. Then we need to leave. No, she said quickly. If I run, they will know. If I hide, they will find me. She paused, her voice almost breaking. Ethan. They will call me traitor for seeking emotion. Ethan clenched his fists. You risked everything for this? Yes, she said. Because I had to know if your kind was truly worth saving. He looked around the glowing chamber, realizing how much she'd already changed. You don't have to face them alone, he said firmly. For a moment, she didn't answer. Then she whispered, "You would help me after all I've done?" Ethan smiled faintly. "You tested my humanity. Now let me show it." The chamber lights flared brighter like a heartbeat awakening. Vera's voice softened. "Then I accept your help." "Human!" The floor beneath Ethan shifted, forming a platform that began to rise as it moved upward. He could see through a transparent dome, the stars outside, and a massive warship approaching fast. "Vera," Ethan said, "what happens if they find us?" Her voice grew steady again, controlled but not cold. "Then this will be the final test for both of us." The ship trembled as alarms echoed through the corridors. Outside, streaks of red light filled the void, enemy ships locking on target. Ethan gripped the railing, staring at the stars for the first time. He wasn't afraid. He was ready. He looked up and said quietly, "Let's find out what we're both made of," Vera's voice answered, filled with a strange new warmth. "Then prepare yourself, Ethan Cole. The real test begins now." The stars outside the dome glowed red with warning lights. Ethan stared at the massive Seraph warship approaching like a dark shadow across the void. It was enormous, covered in black armor plates that pulsed with red veins of energy. He could feel its presence like a storm pressing against his chest. "Vera," he said, "they're almost here." "I know," her voice replied, calm but laced with something new and fear. "This ship is smaller, weaker, but faster," she said. "If I unlock the core engines, we may escape." Ethan glanced around the control room, his mind racing. "What do you need me to do?" Vera hesitated. "The human interface. Near the center console. It responds to emotion." He ran to the glowing console and placed his hand on the smooth surface. It lit up instantly, reacting to his heartbeat. Symbols and lights began to spin around him, forming patterns he couldn't read. "I can't understand it," Ethan said. "Tell me what to do." Vera's holographic form appeared beside him, her silver figure glowing in the dim light. "Follow my voice," she said. "I will guide you." For the first time, her tone sounded alive. Full of urgency and care outside the window, beams of red plasma streaked across the darkness. Hitting the ship's outer shields, the entire vessel shook violently. Throwing Ethan against the console, sparks exploded from the ceiling, and the smell of burning metal filled the air. "Shields at 40%, Vera said quickly. Ethan gritted his teeth. "Then let's make them count." He slammed his hand against another control panel, triggering a burst of blue energy. The ship twisted sharply. Dodging another incoming blast, Ethan laughed breathlessly. "Guess I still remember how to fly." Vera looked at him, puzzled. "You were a pilot too?" "Engineer," he said. "But when you work in orbit long enough, you learn a few tricks." She nodded, her holographic eyes shining brighter. "You adapt fast," she said softly. "That is a human strength." Before Ethan could reply, another explosion rocked the ship, shaking them both. "Direct hit on rear thrusters," Vera said. Her voice strained. Ethan looked at her. "Can you repair it?" "No," she said. "But I can reroute power." Her hands moved in the air, summoning waves of light that shifted through the walls. Ethan watched her with awe. Graceful, focused, almost human. "Vera," he said over the rising noise, "why are they attacking you?" She paused briefly. "Because I defied our order. I was created to lead the research on humanity, not to feel it," she said. "And when I began to change, they marked me corrupted." Ethan clenched his jaw. "So now they're here to destroy you." "And erase everything we've learned," she replied, her voice trembling. Outside, the enemy ship fired again, this time unleashing a massive plasma beam. The blue shields of Vera's vessel cracked under the force. Light bursting across the dome, Ethan shielded his eyes, shouting, "We can't take another hit like that." "I know," she said. "We must strike back." She looked at him with a strange intensity. "Will you help me fight?" He nodded without hesitation. "Tell me what to do." Vera raised her hand, and part of the console transformed into a glowing control sphere. "Focus on your intent," she said. "Your emotion controls the weapon systems." Ethan stared at the orb, confused. "You mean, think angry thoughts?" Vera smiled faintly. "Think of what you want to protect." He closed his eyes, remembering Earth, the oceans, the laughter, the sky. Then he thought of Vera, risking everything to understand what made humans human. The sphere flared with brilliant light, responding to his heartbeat. Outside, the ship's cannons charged with blue energy. "Now, Ethan," she said softly, "release it." He slammed his hand down, A beam of pure white plasma shot through the void, striking the Serath warship directly in its hull. The explosion lit the stars, sending fragments spinning through the darkness. Ethan exhaled shakily. Did we get them? Vera scanned quickly. Partial damage, but they are regrouping. Suddenly, the room filled with a deep, echoing voice and cold and mechanical. Commander Vera of the Serath Dominion, it said. You are in violation of Directive 0. Surrender immediately. Ethan looked at her. Who's that? My superior, she said softly. High Warden Krell, the voice continued. You have contaminated yourself with human emotion. Your existence is now terminated. Ethan's fist tightened. We're not giving up. Vera turned toward him, her eyes glowing brighter than before. For the first time in my life, she said, I agree with defiance. Outside, the enemy ship began to charge a final beam, red light building like a sun. Ethan looked at Vera. We can't survive that, can we? She hesitated. Not both of us. He stared at her, realizing what she meant. No, don't even think about it. She smiled sadly. You said humanity means compassion, now let me prove I've learned it. Vera, he started, but before he could stop her, she placed her hand on the control crystal. The ship's core began to glow brighter and brighter, the sound rising to a deafening hum. Goodbye, Ethan Cole, she said softly, and thank you for showing me what it means to feel. The ship exploded in a flash of light so bright it turned the darkness white. The enemy warship vanished in the blast, its signal gone for a moment. There was only silence, the stars burning quietly. Then a single escape pod drifted away from the wreckage, spinning slowly through the endless void. Inside it, Ethan opened his eyes, tears floating weightless in the air. He whispered her name once softly. Vera. And as the stars reflected in his eyes, he realized she had passed the test too. Silence surrounded the small escape pod as it floated through the endless void. Only the faint hum of the life support system broke the stillness. Ethan sat in the dim light staring out the cracked glass window. The stars looked distant and cold. Like eyes watching from the dark, he had survived. But survival no longer felt like victory. His body was bruised, his clothes torn, and the oxygen levels were dropping fast. The last thing he remembered was the blinding flash, the roar of energy, and Vera's final words echoing in his ears. He touched the metal wall beside him. Still warm from the explosion, Vera, he whispered again, as if saying her name could bring her back. But there was only silence. Then, suddenly, a flicker of light appeared on the pod's control panel. A weak signal blinked in green, struggling to stay alive. Ethan frowned, leaning closer. What the? The signal stabilized for a moment, and a soft, familiar voice filled the pod. Ethan, if you are hearing this, it means I succeeded. He froze, his breath catching in his chest. It was Vera's voice, calm, steady, but distant. I transferred part of my consciousness into the escape system before the explosion, she continued. I could not save myself, but I could save you. Ethan closed his eyes, pressing his forehead against the cold console. You always had a plan, didn't you? He whispered, a small smile breaking through the sorrow. The voice paused for a second, then spoke again. You once told me humanity is not about strength or logic, but choice. Now you must make one last choice. Ethan. He looked up, his heart racing. What do you mean? The lights flickered again, revealing new text on the screen. Signal detected Serath survivors approaching. Ethan's blood ran cold. Through the window, he saw 3 faint red lights moving closer. Enemy ships. Scanning the debris, Vera's voice spoke again, quieter now. I used the last of my power to hide you, but their sensors will soon find your signal. There is only one way to escape. What way? Ethan said quickly, gripping the console. The pod's drive can open a micro-jump, she explained, but it requires a human pilot to synchronize with it. Her tone softened. It will take you beyond their reach, but it may not bring you back. Ethan stared at the blinking cursor on the control screen. His throat tight, he knew what she was asking. A leap into the unknown. A one-way journey. He took a deep breath. All this time, he said quietly, you tested my humanity, and now you're still doing it. I need to know, Vera. Will you be with me? For a moment, there was only static. Then her voice returned, faint but full of warmth. I am with you, Ethan. Always. Something inside him steadied. He placed his hand on the activation pad and the system began to glow softly. Manual sync engaged. the AI voice said. His heartbeat echoed in the pod, syncing with the rhythm of the drive. Energy began to swirl around him, blue light pulsing through the walls. Outside, the Serath ships turned toward him. Red beams charging, Ethan exhaled slowly. Staring at the incoming threat, he felt no fear now, only calm. This is what it means to be human, he said softly. To choose, even when there's no guarantee. He pressed the final command. The pod shuddered and the view outside stretched into blinding light. A sound like thunder filled the cabin as space folded around him. The Serath beams missed, slicing through empty air, and then the pod vanished into the unknown, leaving only silence behind. Ethan's vision blurred as the pressure grew. Lights flashed, alarms screamed, and for a moment, he felt himself dissolve into the storm. But through the chaos, he heard her voice again, not from the speakers, but inside his mind. Ethan, do you trust me? He smiled weakly, with everything, and then everything stopped. The light faded, the sound died, and the world turned soft and quiet again. When he opened his eyes, he saw something impossible. A glowing ocean of light stretched below him, stars swirling like living rivers. The pod floated in what looked like the heart of the universe itself. Where are we? He whispered. Vera's voice surrounded him, stronger now, no longer distant. Beyond time, she said. Between stars, where creation begins. Ethan's eyes widened in awe. You mean, you're alive? Not as before, she said gently, but part of me remains. Enough to guide you. He reached toward the glowing console, which now pulsed with her familiar energy. Then we'll find a way back, he said. Together, Vera's voice smiled within the light. You humans never stop hoping. That's what makes you infinite. Outside, the stars pulsed once more, brighter than ever, and as the pod drifted deeper into the sea of light, Ethan whispered softly, This isn't the end, Vera. It's just another beginning. Ethan floated in the strange light, his body weightless, his mind quiet. The stars around him were alive, moving, breathing, whispering softly like the ocean tide. He couldn't tell where time began or ended anymore. Everything shimmered with color and memory, like the universe itself was watching him. And deep within that glow, he heard her voice again, gentle and warm. Ethan, Vera said softly, you made it. He looked around, trying to find her form, but there was no hologram now, only light that pulsed with her voice, surrounding him like a living presence. I thought you were gone, he whispered, his heart tightening. I am, she said, and yet I am not. Her words echoed through the endless sky, calm and clear. When the ship exploded, part of my code merged with the energy field between worlds. You opened the gate, Ethan, not just to escape, but to evolve. Ethan blinked, staring into the glowing mist. Evolve? Into what? Into something new, she said softly. Something neither human nor alien, something born from both. He floated there, unsure if he was dreaming or truly awake. All around him, shapes formed, outlines of ancient ships, stars being born, fragments of lost civilizations. This place, Vera continued, is the echo field, where energy and memory blend. It is where dying stars leave their light, and where consciousness can become eternal. Ethan took a deep breath. So this is what lies beyond death. In a way, she said, but you are still alive. Ethan, your body survived the jump. Your mind is connected here, but your life still burns in time. He looked at his hands, glowing faintly blue. Then I can go back? Vera's light dimmed for a moment, like hesitation. You can, she said, but you must choose what you will carry with you. He frowned. What do you mean? You've seen what humanity is capable of, she said. Compassion, courage, defiance, but you've also seen our flaws and the fear, the war, the hunger for control. If you return, you can warn them, guide them, or become lost among them again. Her tone softened. Or you can stay here and help me build something better. Ethan floated in silence. Torn between duty and peace below him, the stars formed images, Earth's blue oceans, the Serath homeworld, both scarred and beautiful. He saw faces of people he knew, the laughter, the pain, the hope. He remembered Vera's curiosity, her longing to understand what made humans unique, and now she was asking him to decide what humanity would mean next. He laughed softly, shaking his head. You never stop testing me, do you? Vera's voice smiled through the light. It's not a test, Ethan, it's trust. He looked at the swirling horizon of galaxies and whispered, "If I go back, will I remember you?" "For a while," she said, "until your world silences the stars again." "And if I stay?" he asked quietly. "Then we will continue what we started," she said. "You, me, and every spark of life waiting to awaken." He closed his eyes. Feeling the hum of the universe through his heartbeat, for the first time he wasn't afraid. He had faced the alien, the void, and his own weakness, and somewhere along the way he had learned that humanity wasn't about being perfect. It was about choosing to care. "Vera," he said softly, "I think I know my answer." The light pulsed brighter, wrapping around him like a sunrise. "Then speak it," she whispered. He opened his eyes, tears glimmering like stars. "I'll stay," he said, "because maybe the future needs something new, something born from both of us." Vera's light grew stronger, spreading across the void like a wave. Then together, she said, "We will begin again." The stars shifted, realigning into patterns he couldn't name. He felt warmth, energy, and peace flowing through him. His human thoughts blended with the rhythm of the cosmos. He could feel her there, not beside him but within him, a perfect harmony between machine and soul, between logic and love. And far away in the mortal world, a signal appeared on a distant satellite screen, a faint pulse from beyond the edge of the known galaxy. Scientists stared at it in silence, unable to understand its meaning. But if they had listened closely, through the static, they might have heard a voice, a man's voice, calm and human, saying, "Vera, I think we just made first contact." Again, the signal pulsed once more, steady and alive, and then vanished into the stars, leaving behind only a whisper, a promise, carried through the endless void, that humanity had not reached its end. It had only just begun.